going on, everybody? This is Lady Luck here again. And today we're going to be talking about Takoda Collins. I had tried to do a live stream just to kind of give an overview of this case. And I understand that true crime is not really built for everybody. But I do have an interest in it because it keeps the memories of the victims alive. And unfortunately, in this case, in the situation, it just so happened to be a 10-year-old little boy whose life was taken by the hands of his own father. Now, I'm not sure if many of you have heard of him, but so far from the information that I've been able to gather and video content that I've watched previously, he was a happy, jovial kid who was emotional at times, that was granted full physical custody to his father, who also lived with the father's girlfriend, the girlfriend's sister, and the father's brother. So we're going to take a look at Explore With Us. He's a fantastic content creator here on YouTube, and I am personally a subscriber to the channel. As I stated, this is a trigger warning. I understand that many will not be able to handle the issues and the abuse that he endured, but I implore all of you to at least understand the signs and symptoms when you see a child that is behaving beyond their normal pattern of behavior, to be able to reach out and to ensure that they're okay. Takoda was pulled out of school and was kept out of school 2 years before he passed away. And I would like to hope that the teachers were aware, they reported the abuse. It got to a point where one of the nurses, as you will hear in the video, was washing his clothes because of the strong smell of urine. These things can play on the psychological, mental, and emotional state of any human being, especially children, especially when they're going to school. But the little boy endured so much in his short life, and there's no way we cannot just at least honor his memory by ensuring that his story is told to prevent this from happening to others. And I think that's the main message that I want to portray here in the true crime that we cover in the Lady Luck Club. I am a mother. I have 2 boys myself. I would never want this to happen to any of my children, nor do I want this to happen to any other child. But the reality of the situation is that it's happening. And the best way to stop it is to report it and understand the signs and symptoms when we see it. So let's dive into Explore With Us. Shout out to the fantastic content creator that put this video together. We're not going to look at the entire video, but we're just going to look at parts of the beginning of this investigation, parts of the interrogation from the father you see on the left side of the screen, as well as the girlfriend and the girlfriend's sister. And then I have a court document just to kind of go over to show the sentencing and the justice that was served against the father and the girlfriend's sister. So let's get into it.
Like that, help.
On December 13th, 2019, in Dayton, Ohio, 30-year-old Al McLean makes this 911 call after realizing that his 10-year-old son, Takoda Collins, is unconscious.
What's the location of your emergency?
Yes, my son is unresponsive right now.
Your son is hold on. Okay, you said your son is unresponsive?
Yeah.
Okay, how old is he?
He's a child with a lot of medical issues. So what he do is he'll just not have his...
Stop, just for a minute. How old is he?
He's 11 years old in 3 days.
The following is based on official police records, and some of the footage has never been seen before.
And he's unresponsive. Is he breathing?
Yeah, but barely.
We're going to go ahead and start CPR, okay? So keep him laying where he is, okay?
Okay.
So this starts off with the father making a call. And the first thing he tries to do is, I guess, to belittle the situation and diminish what his son is actually going through by saying that he has a lot of medical issues. And what you're here is, and I encourage you all to check out Explore With Us in its entirety, to watch the video on the Explore With Us YouTube channel. Shout out to them, and thank you for posting up this video so that we can all be able to learn more about the story of Takoda Collins. But the father goes in and immediately tries to diminish the situation and tries to present this setup as if his son had so many medical issues, when he turns around and then says that it was more behavioral. Well, that has nothing to do with the medical issues and the emergency that he was enduring or experiencing. So in the beginning, I mean, the father just goes on the attack and sets up this whole defense as if his son was just having such, a medical, so many medical issues, as if this was unavoidable, and is absolutely deplorable and disgusting in every way. Let's get back to it.
For what it is. He won't stop with no cough.
Okay.
You all right?
Is he responding to it?
Breathing.
Is he breathing?
It's hard to say. I see his eyes.
Okay, and what are his eyes doing? Like, are they moving? Is any part of his body moving?
No, they just still.
If you think his mouth...
Now something out his nose. He's throwing up out his nose now.
Dispatch then instructs Al to begin CPR, but despite the seriousness of the situation, this is far easier said than done.
I'm blowing in his breath, and it smells real rotten in the inside of his stomach.
You're going to cover his mouth with your mouth. Go ahead.
God.
Though Al struggles to perform mouth-to-mouth, he continues with chest compressions until emergency services and police officers arrive.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, so you're doing your job. Okay.
Here now.
Okay, go ahead and open the door for me.
Is he dead? Let's step outside for me.
While emergency services
One of the things that I find disturbing is that the father is sitting here retching over trying to do CPR on his own son, and then turns around and asks if he's dead. No solemn, no somber, no sound of distress. I don't even think he cried. And you'll see throughout the interrogation that he really shows no emotions. And it's just disgusting to think that he could not fathom having done CPR on his own son without retching and being concerned about how something smells. You're trying to save your child's life. That's going to be the least thing that you think about. To ask if he's dead, it's just deplorable. It's deplorable. Let's get to it.
However, this is just the beginning of the troubling revelations. As soon as officers arrived at Al's home, they made some disturbing observations, which were then confirmed by the medical staff who attempted to save Takoda's life. Following these discoveries, Al was brought to the police station to answer questions regarding the circumstances surrounding his son's death.
What has he right here? In that blue chair? That blue chair right there.
Moments before this interview, while in another room, Al picked up a chair and began pounding on the door and walls with it. Officers told him to put the chair down, and when he failed to do so, they used force to subdue him and place him in the cuffs.
Have you ever been under rights before?
Yeah.
You have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can I please have some water? I ain't had water in 6-7 hours, please.
Yes. We'll get you water in 1 minute. Yeah. Okay.
Following the incident with the officers, Al stated that he had an injury to his lip.
Just brought you some water.
Can I get a photo on my lip?
We'll take care of it.
Of all things to think about here, he's talking about a photo of his lip. I mean, it's just disgusting. He's a grown man. But his son was pronounced dead at the hospital, and they tried their best to save his life, and they couldn't. Then he gets to the police station after being placed under arrest, and he starts to bang on the walls with a chair. They had to come in to subdue him, and he's worried about an injury to his lip after finding out that his son is deceased. This is, so far, the example of a complete soulless narcissist who should have never been a parent at all. Certain people aren't meant to procreate and become parents. This is very, very dangerous. And when you see parents like this, it makes you think twice about how they are treating their children at home. He's thinking about himself and not about his son.
Homicide, that's like premeditated.
Homicide's kind of a catch-all for somebody that died more than likely not of natural causes. Make sense? So it kind of covers a lot of things. It could be murder, it could be...
That's the thing. I don't know. I don't even know why my child is dead. You heard? I still don't know.
If your child's dead?
No, they just told me he dead. But
A homicide is the taking of another's life. There are various types of homicides, such as premeditated murder or second degree murder or aggravated murder. It's various types, but that's simply the taking of a life and something he did not have the right to do.
Was only the beginning of the disconcerting things Al would say to investigators. In the interrogation room, the detective begins reading him his rights.
No promises or threats have been made to me, and no pressure or coercion of any kind has been used against me.
I don't want to agree to that right now. That man just bopped me and told me I did it. So I feel that was pressure right there. I wanted to speak immediately.
You what?
I said, I feel like he pressured me.
Okay. But are you wanting to talk to us now? You have that right.
Yes, I do.
Al eventually agrees to waive his rights, and the detective begins by addressing one of the first things officers and emergency services noticed about.
Either way, he waives his rights, speaks with them, but he just wanted to point out again that his lip hurts because, grown men cry about their lip being popped.
Oh, just straight out the window. There is no stopping him. I'm afraid. I've been telling people I was afraid, but at the same time, it was nothing I can do. And I can understand the fact that he had marks all over his body. You'd be surprised just to sit there and watch him do it. Or just to see there, and you just be like, stop, or no, or don't, and he's going to whack, he's going to bam, he's going to jump, he's going to flip, he's going to kick. We had stairs, but not people kick him like that, you know what I mean? And kick him all kind of ways in the corner.
Al will explain these odd claims in greater detail shortly, but for now the detectives establish.
We can point out the fact that the home was absolutely disgusting. There were no pictures up of the child, just him and his girlfriend and their sister and the brother. That's it. Nothing concerning the child.
Able to care for him. Neither Amanda nor Jenny were Takoda's mother, but both would eventually speak with authorities and add twisted layers to this already troubling case.
I had to just send Takoda upstairs. I mean, the living environment, it was fine. It wasn't it was perfect actually. When he went up there, it didn't stink. He had a bed, he had clothes, he had everything he wanted. But this is the point that I'm trying to make as a parent. This how far it go. Like I can't get a boy a blanket. Because if I give him a blanket, now he has marks all over his body from him pissing on himself and wrapping around his own blanket.
Investigators would soon take a closer look at Takoda's living situation, and what they find couldn't be further from Al's description of perfect.
Anytime that I put my hands on him,
I don't think anyone would define that to be perfect at all. It was deplorable. It wasn't even fit for the dog.
It was to keep him from hurting himself. And I mean, far as I wouldn't beat him with anything, I would just grab him and like, hey, enough's enough, like arms behind your back, like the police do. You know what I mean? It was never punch you in the eye or slam you or, you know what I mean? Never tried to do nothing out the way to him just to keep him from hurting himself.
Already Al has packed his interview with a lot of information and disturbing claims. Seeking a clear understanding of what was going on, investigators brought Al's girlfriend Amanda in to speak with them.
Did they say how he died? What happened? That's how we want to talk to you.
If I sign it, do I still have the right to a lawyer?
Yeah, if you want a lawyer, you can, like I said, you can stop at any time. You request an attorney.
After clarifying, Amanda agrees to speak with them, but has one more question before they begin.
And
Where my sister's at?
yeah, she's we just put her in a different room.
Bipolar and ADHD and depression, and she's not all there. She's got a learning disability, so I'm not sure she's all right.
She's not all there. Like
She has a learning disability. She doesn't talk much.
she doesn't talk much.
She's never had a job.
So the first thing that the girlfriend does is to try to discredit the sister and to give this impression that the sister has a learning disability. Oftentimes when the court or even the prosecutor or defense feel that one cannot be competent enough to stand trial, they will order a psych evaluation. But a learning disability may not always lead to a psych evaluation. There are other factors involved that would warrant a judge to order a psych evaluation. And her telling the interrogator, oh, she has a learning disability, might not be strong enough of an accusation, if you will, to say she's not competent enough to be able to be interrogated and to speak for herself. But the fact that this is always tried when someone has something to hide and they know, hey, my sister might just tell on me and might spill the beans. So let me tell you up front, she has a learning disability. That doesn't change anything, and it didn't change anything in this scenario. If nothing else, it kind of proved that at the end of the day, the sister was being manipulated, and she was manipulating her sister to keep her from talking, because her sister doesn't have a problem just telling the flat out truth. Whether she has a learning disability or not had nothing to do with her morality or her ethics of just being able to speak the truth and to state facts and to state what she experienced and what happened. So far, this is just kind of an overview of the father and the girlfriend. Let's get to the sister and to give a synopsis of how she was really able to hold her own and how she was definitely manipulated by the girlfriend of the father.
He knew. With Al and Amanda sharing vastly different recollections about Takoda, investigators turned to the third adult in the home, Jenny, hoping she may share some insights. Her testimony would prove to be exactly what they were looking for, but what she has to share is far more harrowing than anyone can imagine.
I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable with this. I don't care.
She seems to be the only one that's emotionally disturbed as well and crying. The other two have no emotions or empathy whatsoever about what happened to this child.
Ironically, Jenny is wearing a shirt that says, "I'd help, but I don't want to."
Let's start from the beginning. Okay, tell me what this is.
Well, I moved down here 3 years ago. And, well, I moved down here because I had to take care of the boys. And that was the whole deal, that I take care of the house and the boys, and he'd buy my dog food or whatever, clean the house and do all that. So, I can't.
You're okay, honey. Take a breath.
I'm going to tell everything. I just like told my house and my dog, I'm not going down for this no more.
Okay.
Because they always said if anything happens, we're all going down. Well, I'm not going down as much as they are. I'm tired.
Somebody told you all were going down for it? Who?
Amanda.
Amanda told you all were going to go down for it? Okay.
When they get to the topic of Takoda, Jenny's reaction is markedly different than her sister and Al's.
I can't do that. Can you give me a second? Just
Yeah.
Well, he was in that room downstairs, and then he was misbehaving because he was pooping everywhere. He could use the bathroom anytime, whatever, like a normal child. But he would refuse to use the bathroom and use it on himself every night and everything. And first he started spanking him, putting him in the corner. That escalated from there. And then he would start punching him, kicking him, elbowing him in the gut, smacking him across the head and everything. And then he recently started using a taser on him. And then we got this metal spatula or whatever that he used to beat him with.
Back with Al, the detectives ask about something else unsettling that they noticed in the home.
So you watched on the camera?
I was, yes.
Okay. How come we couldn't see that view of the camera when we were there?
That I don't know.
When investigators entered the attic, they found a dismantled camera on the floor.
Did you unplug it before you called the police?
No.
Mighty ironic how the dismantled camera that he utilized to actually monitor his son up there in that attic, where the child was sleeping on that green cot that you saw, not a real bed, and had a bucket for urine because there was no bathroom or toilet accessible to him. Somehow the camera now is dismantled and broken. I mean, if you have nothing to hide, why not hand over that information, right?
What is it, live? So you can only watch what's going on?
Why exactly Takoda was being watched at all times wouldn't be fully explained until later. For now, Al continues to lament his situation.
I done had first surgery at my house maybe 40, 50 times. I done had, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So for me to bring him to the doctor, like, oh, he cracked his nugget again, and social services.
You'll notice a lot, he'll say, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? No one knows what he meant. And all he did was just rant, rave, and complain about himself and what he's going through. Disgusting.
For help with Takoda.
I called the police. The police told me he was being unruly and that when he got a little older, they'll be able to, put him in some type of juvenile center. And I mean, this is the day after he jumped out the window. I mean, I'm traumatized every day. It's a new show.
Al actually did contact the police for help with Takoda on November 18th, 2018. Al told the police that when he tried to put Takoda to bed, he started cussing at him and Amanda, told them he just wanted to be disrespectful, and had been going to the bathroom on the floor. When officers arrived, Al told them that he wanted them to take Takoda to the Juvenile Justice Center. Instead, Officer Thames placed Takoda in handcuffs and escorted him to the backseat of his cruiser. The officers noted that Takoda was limping because he'd been injured when he apparently jumped out of the attic window the night before. When asked why he wasn't wearing a cast even though he had been taken to the hospital, Al said Takoda cut it off. The officers never mentioned in their report if they entered the home or if they asked Takoda for his side of the story before they left. Al wasn't the only one to contact the police. On May 14th, 2019, about 7 months before Takoda's death, Robin, Takoda's mother, also called the authorities.
Hi, I need to speak with somebody about doing a welfare check on my son, who I believe is in danger right now. And I don't know how you guys do things or how
I must say that the system it just fails these kids. I mean, the fact that the mother would have had to make this call and not actually have custody of her child speaks volumes, especially when the police failed to even go in the home to check the conditions of the home and to find out exactly why the child would want to jump out of a window.
His address. Locked him in his room. He tried to jump out a window. He sent him to school in a diaper. He pulled him out of school. He whipped him with a belt. Just a bunch of stuff that's very concerning to me.
Okay, and you think that he's actively abusing him right now?
Yes, I think he is, yes.
Okay.
I definitely do. Just the way that he's talking to him on the phone, telling him how angry he is with him and how if I don't come and get him, something's going to happen and he's going to take him to a group home and drop him.
I think the mother made it clear by saying that he's going to school in a diaper. He tried to jump out of a window and he has marks all over his body.
He's telling the truth or not, but even if he's not, I would feel much better knowing that a police officer pulled my son to the side and talked to him one-on-one to make sure that nothing is going on.
Following Robin's call, officers were dispatched. They reported that Al wouldn't let them inside the house, but spoke to them through the screen door. Al even brought Takoda to the front door. The officers noted that he was properly dressed, but didn't speak very much. When he did, they said he was soft-spoken and polite, and answered their questions by saying, "Yes, ma'am," or "No, ma'am." The officers also wrote in their report that Takoda gave no indication that someone was troubling him, and they couldn't see any injuries through the screen door. However, they didn't speak to him one-on-one as Robin had requested. Once again, the police left Takoda with his father without further investigation. The detectives now speaking.
This is the failure of the police department. I mean, normally you would separate the child from the parent, especially if you believe that the parent could have some influence over the child, so that you can get an account from the child's perspective where they can freely speak to you alone without fear of retaliation. At the end of the day, they should have went into the home. They should have talked with him separately and at least looked at his arms and legs to make sure that there were no visible bruises or injury on him. This is a failure of the police department as well.
All right, so look. He had a chair like this.
Right.
You take the back off. That's going to sit flat on the ground.
Okay.
And I seen him going like this. You hear me? I wasn't telling it. I wasn't able
So
to
he's
tell.
putting the chair like in his butt. That's what you're saying he's doing.
Yep, but here's the thing.
So with this, he's insinuating that the child had the yellowish chair that you see. It had two little bars, legs still sticking up, and inserted into his rectum. It is disgusting. That's disgusting to even insinuate that a 10-year-old would want to do that. Disgusting.
He would sit on it with his legs wide open because I don't know the whole reason.
He would sit on it when it was part of the chair?
Yeah, when it was all together. Because he wouldn't stand still with his legs crossed, hands behind his head. And then he brought back home one day and made him sit on it.
Though this is a passing comment about Takoda standing with his legs crossed and hands behind him, it would come up again later. For the time being,
If you
they
see
focused
the
on
chair,
finding out more
here it
about the
is.
stool leg.
Did you see Al with this, like one of the legs today?
He hid it behind the dresser in the living room. All part of it, and then the other one was down the sink in the bathroom.
Investigators found the two broken stool legs, one behind the TV and the other in a laundry basket outside the bathroom.
So how far in was it?
I can't say. That's the thing. I don't know.
You don't know.
Because I ripped it out so quick.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, he's speaking of ripping it out of his son's bottom area, rectum area. It's so disgusting. But yet he says it with such calm and cavalier, and he doesn't even care. You know how much damage it could have done internally to him? Deplorable.
In the bathtub, and it sounded like he was drowning him. So he was talking to him and telling him he was going to drown him, and it sounded like that because all I heard was splashing because he wouldn't clean his shorts because he came down wet. I heard this morning. And he took him back upstairs and threw him out. Then he made him lay on his stomach, hands behind his back, and stepped on it. And then he made him lay in the bed, and he was laying on his side, and then he was at the back of him. I don't know what he was doing out there. I couldn't see. And then he threw him back off the bed, drug him a little bit, and then,
Jenny said after this, she went into her room.
I got woken up by him and crying and freaking out. And that's when we left. Because the photo wasn't breathing.
This is a completely different timeline than the one both Al and Amanda shared. Jenny also reveals more about why she and Amanda left the house to run errands and go to Walgreens.
Do you know what she wanted to talk to her friend at Walgreens about?
I think just...
Yeah, it seems like they wanted to leave the home just so that they couldn't have any culpability about what exactly happened, even though that didn't work out well for them. This is horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. What this child went through was unimaginable. He was tortured.
Yet in her interview, Amanda continues to feign ignorance about what happened to the 10-year-old.
Explain to me what all these marks are on Takoda.
What marks?
The marks all over his body.
From jumping out the window or what?
No,
I don't look at him. I don't know.
these marks on his body.
I don't, he's 10. I don't look at his body. I have no idea.
Like marks on his face. You never noticed the marks on his face?
I didn't see him this morning. I haven't seen him.
Or maybe there's a big cut that's on his, like around his foot?
Mm-hmm.
You never noticed that?
Mm-mm.
Despite Amanda's denials, Jenny continues to divulge increasingly harrowing details.
Did Takoda take a beating last night? Is that why he was so disoriented today?
He could have, but I went to bed early because I had to get up early.
See, it's fair to say maybe he did, maybe he didn't last night.
Right.
Okay. But he gets beat on every day.
Pretty much. Okay. It's unusual when you don't.
And this is what the sister was afraid of, the girlfriend of the father. She was afraid that her sister would spill the beans and tell the truth. And that's exactly what she's doing. The worst part is they tried to keep her from doing this, and it didn't work. It just didn't work. There's a thing called autopsy. The evidence would have lined up to show exactly the damage that was done to Takoda and to his body. So lying about it is futile.
Someone else talk to me. I didn't want to hear stuff.
Set your hands on young man.
Back in Al's interrogation, his statements are just as callous.
Are you saying that you don't feel bad?
No, it's not saying that. I mean, I don't say that because I don't think I killed my child. I feel bad that he's not with me. But I'm more concerned that what's going on. What is the cause? What did it?
That's what you're concerned about?
Yeah, who did it? Yeah, maybe somebody else did it. We never know.
The detectives decide to take a quick break from speaking with Al.
But he lives with the father, though. So he's one sitting here talking about who else did it. The audacity. It's so disgusting. So disgusting. So I'm going to fast forward to towards the end where he is arrested. And there were some calls that were occurring in exchange between him and the girlfriend, and how they tried to silence the girlfriend's sister.
Murder? Yes. What is it? What does murder mean? Like murder means you killed your child.
I planned it.
What's that?
That means I planned it or something.
No, I didn't say you planned it. What I'm saying is that you murdered your son.
Anybody else being charged?
They decided to.
Once at the hospital, Al was overheard speaking
That's
to
all he
himself,
was worried
and
about.
police reports state that he said at least 7 times out loud that, quote, he must have drowned because I did not beat his ass that bad today. Investigators also had the heartbreaking task of informing Robin, Takoda's mother, of his death.
So you beat him to death, pretty much, right? You beat my son to death.
That's possible. He definitely had a lot of injuries. Did Al make comments to you?
Yes, he did.
What did he
Lots of comments about how he was going to kill him, about how he beat him, about how he beat him with a belt because his son was gay, and about how I will never see him again. All types of stuff. I stopped answering the phone because it was just nothing but traumatizing for me and my son. I went to social services.
And social services did nothing. They didn't do anything to try to even go out and check on him at all, knowing that he was being abused like this. And I mean, I think it would have been kind of a telltale sign to know something's going on if he tried to jump out of a window. You would think.
Where is Amanda? Think about Amanda.
She's a no good piece of.
Yeah, I don't blame her for saying this at all. And she allowed this behavior to continue. And he is the son of Satan. I said it.
That was the last time I see it.
Well, I'm going to do everything in my power to get justice for Takoda, okay?
Yeah, because if you don't, I'm going to kill a goddamn suck. You know, you do that to a little baby. He's just a baby.
I know.
Do you guys have the death penalty down there?
Yes, we do. This is still under investigation, though, okay?
Amanda had remained steadfast during her interview, and even after Al was arrested, she stayed in close contact with him. They spoke over the phone and recorded jail calls discussing the case.
They trying to see if they have enough to indict me. I got $100 million mine.
Oh, $1 million. There.
Yeah, $1 million mine. And what are they charging me with?
It said 4 counts of child endangerment.
Right. And I hear they give you a lot of time for that. And the only time I ever did anything to him was try to get him to control himself. That's the story.
Yeah, no, just the fact that he, abused him continuously and allowed him to jump out of a window and to have a stool leg in his rectum area is just god awful. It's so disgusting. And this home is disgusting.
Go get the hair dryer.
Yeah.
So I can't tell them, Daddy, I love you. Daddy, I love you. I love you, Daddy.
However, the couple also discusses the third person involved in the case,
Probably
Jenny.
because he
So
wanted
she be
to
free
abuse
too?
the
Yeah,
child.
they let her out first.
Right. No worries. You hear me? Like I said, just you making sure you inform somebody of that girl mental condition.
I told them that she's got bipolar and ADHD. When they put her on the stand,
No, yeah, none of these things matter when it comes from these two. That would be for the judge, prosecutor, and maybe the defense attorney to determine if she needed a psyche eval. This is ridiculous.
Trying to take me down, huh? But yep, that dog don't shut up. Got to go. So try to tame it the best you can.
I've been every day been telling
Yeah,
that
they
dog
tried to silence her.
stop barking.
Right. It won't stop.
Just bark over me.
Oh yeah.
God.
Yeah, we be getting that new barking collar. And remember, talk to the dog. Talk to beeping collar.
Yeah, this is their behind speak of trying to get her to be quieted. And by any means necessary, apparently. Disgusting.
Again, a few days after her first interview, she made some dramatic changes to her story.
Is there anything else you think we should know? Did anything else come up?
Not really. Just, I know Takoda pretty much did this, like, he didn't do it mainly to himself, but he always, like, because Al doesn't abuse him, he just disciplined him. He just, like, used the spatula to spank his hands and his butt. But when I told you that he stomped on him that day, I didn't.
Okay, let me stop you real quick. I know that Amanda is manipulating
No,
you.
she is not. No,
yes,
she is not. No, she's not. I'm telling you, telling you what is going on. Why would Amanda tell me things to say?
Because your
It's just
story
not
has
right.
consistently changed every
Yeah,
time.
it could, but I could remember some stuff too.
Jennifer, you're about to get caught in a trick bag. We had jail calls. We had conversations between Al and Amanda where they're telling you that you're a dog and that you need to get that dog to shut up.
Yes,
Because if that dog talks, that dog's going to get pounded. All right? We have
So you immediately see her crying because now the jail calls are recorded. You're in jail. They're not something that you can just expect to remain private. And they were definitely trying to bully her to remain silent. And why would she not think that they could get a copy of the jail calls? I don't understand. Those calls are recorded. So, yeah, this is when she decides to tell the truth and go all out now because she realized there's no way she can cover up for those two.
This cause of death.
Right. He said that his autopsy came back at cardiac arrest.
Heart just stopped.
Yeah.
Right.
It happens to over 2,000 kids a year between the ages of 10 and 19.
Right. But I know I can't do life in prison over this.
Though it's unclear where exactly Amanda heard this information about Takoda's death, it wasn't accurate. In fact, his autopsy revealed the horrific extent of his injuries, and it's nothing short of brutal. Takoda had injuries to almost every part of his body. He had hundreds of healed and new lacerations and abrasions to his head, face, mouth, neck, chest, abdomen, back, buttocks, arms, hands, legs, and feet, and extensive bruising. Many of the injuries were considered to be in defensive locations.
Wow.
Deep bruising was observed to all areas of the head, and his buttocks was bruised all the way to the bone. On his back, there was a type of branding of 4 letters, beginning with the letter T.
And we have the court documents that we're going to take a look at. So I'm going to switch over now to that. It's a full court document here. This is from the Common Pleas Court of Montgomery County, Ohio Criminal Division, State of Ohio, Plaintiff v. Amanda Hines. Case number 2019 CR 04108/02. Judge Dennis J. Atkins. This is the state's sentencing memorandum. By and through the Montgomery County Prosecutor's Office, the state of Ohio respectfully requests this court impose on Al Matahan McLean a prison term of 51 years to life for the years of prolonged excessive abuse he inflicted on his young child, Takoda Collins, whom he ultimately murdered with a final brutal beating and anal rape. This state also requests a maximum consecutive sentence for co-defendant Amanda Hines, as well as a lengthy prison term for co-defendant Jennifer Ebert. As set forth in the attached, both of these adults were complicit and assisted in the daily isolation and torture and death of this child. The state sets forth in the attached memorandum the details of Takoda Collins' horrific life and death and the actions of these defendants that justify the state's request for sentencing. The worst part about this is that this child tried to jump out of a window, perhaps to try to get away from this. And the fact that he probably didn't care what type of injury he would have, endured from jumping out of a window, it was still a way out. Would have been better than him living in this home that essentially looked like the House of Horrors #2. The abuse on Takoda last date was unimaginable. Defendant McLean beat this child, stood on him, pushing his full weight on this child's body, forced him into water as Takoda could be heard struggling. In the final acts of humiliation, rage, and torture, defendant repeatedly forced a broken chair leg deep into Takoda's rectum. This is based on the autopsy results. And this is evidence. You can imagine a child having to go through this at 9 years old, 10 years old, for any reason. Most adults wouldn't be able to deal with this, but a child went through this. The mother's statement to the detective is that the last time she had seen her son, he was 5 years old. Who knew 4 years later, 5 years later, he would be deceased at the hands of his own father. He was denied clothing, food, light, and access to a bathroom. So this explains the reason why he went to school when he was going to school, smelling of urine. They didn't even allow him the ability to go to the restroom. It's torture. Not only did it hurt the child physically, but mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. They didn't care about this child's life. They didn't care about the pain they inflicted upon him. They didn't care about the incessant torture that he endured. And for no reason. But yet, this punk father sat here. I'm not even going to call him a father. The spawn of Satan tried to give this impression that his lip was more of an importance than the serious nature of the torture and abuse and unfortunate anal raping of this son for no reason at all, simply for existing. There were several opportunities for him to give him back to his mother, but he didn't even try to do that. And maybe that's all the little boy wanted, was to be able to go back home, be with someone that loved him and cared for him. Her pleas and cries and calls to the police just for a welfare check was haphazard. And Takoda Collins did not deserve this. So I want to end this video on this note here, that at the end of the day, it comes down to this. Takoda Collins deserved more. He deserved better. And I am glad that the father and the girlfriend and even the sister are spending the rest of their lives in prison where they belong. Now, we'll say the girlfriend's sister did take a plea deal. She cooperated. She tried to do what was best. And she tried her best to ensure that the truth was told. But there's still a penalty to pay for it. So the father received 51 years to life. The girlfriend received, I think, 20 to 30 years. And the sister, I think, received about 7 or 8 years. This is the sad part about these true crime stories. But hopefully you guys learn and understand the signs, the pattern of behavior of a child that might be screaming out for help, especially when they are taking upon themselves to jump out of a bedroom window. This is Lady Luck Club, and until the next video, have a good evening. Deuces.